From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. President Joe Biden has acknowledged for the first time that American weapons supplied to Israel have been used to kill civilians in Gaza. In an exclusive interview with CNN on Wednesday, Biden revealed that U.S.-made bombs were used by Israel in civilian areas, prompting him to halt the shipment of certain weapons. The U.S. has already paused a shipment of high-payload munitions due to Israel's possible operations in Rafah without a plan for civilians' safety there. Biden has emphasized withholding support from Israel if civilian harm persists. The decision marks a significant shift and turning point amid mounting pressure from within Biden's party and international legal challenges to Israel's ongoing war on Gaza. Despite reaffirming his commitment to Israel's security, Biden outlined limitations on weapon supplies, particularly if actions target civilian areas. Biden is urging Israel to avoid becoming entangled in Gaza, likening the situation to America's experiences in Afghanistan and Iraq. Israel stands accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice. An interim ruling in January ordered Tel Aviv to take measures to guarantee that humanitarian assistance is provided to civilians in Gaza. Prominent civil rights figure Jesse Jackson Sr. has voiced support for nationwide student demonstrations for a free Palestine, likening them to historic divestment campaigns against apartheid in South Africa. In an op-ed piece published on Friday in the University of Chicago's campus newspaper, the Chicago Maroon, Jackson advocates for universities to divest from companies doing business with Israel. The Baptist minister has expressed dismay at peaceful demonstrations facing severe backlash, with college administrations resorting to arrests, donor withdrawals, and threats against participants. He says despite the risks, including legal action, students persist, echoing the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s call to act on conscience. Jackson commends their impact, noting increased scrutiny of Israel's actions and calls for ceasefire conditions. He also notes that while some protesters, including Jews, have faced accusations of anti-Semitism, their actions symbolize hope for a better future. Arizona State University has placed postdoctoral research scholar Jonathan Udelman on leave. This is after a video of him verbally confronting a woman in a hijab at a Free Israel rally near campus surfaced. During a rally in Tempe, Udelman and another individual confronted the woman, whose identity remains undisclosed. Udelman is seen aggressively approaching the woman, using offensive language and disregarding her religious boundaries. Udelman's actions have sparked widespread criticism, with the university currently investigating the incident as public outrage grows. Prior to the incident, Udelman had labeled Free Palestine protests as supportive of terrorism and accused Jewish students of being intimidated. Protesters who were detained during an April 25th demonstration at Ohio State University have accused police of violating their religious rights. This is for forcibly removing their hijabs during arrests. Representing many of the 36 people arrested, Mazen Rasul called the police's actions suppressive and unjust. He also confirmed incidents where hijabs were forcibly removed, emphasizing the distress it caused. Ohio State University spokesman Ben Johnson has suggested hijabs may have fallen off accidentally during arrests. At a Columbus City Council meeting, one woman reported mistreatment during arrest, including a concussion and being refused space to pray. Another protester highlighted the harsh conditions of transport and detention. While celebrities dazzled at the Met Gala, a contrasting scene unfolded outside as thousands of Free Palestine demonstrators marched through Manhattan. Advocating against the Israeli war on Gaza, thousands of Free Palestine demonstrators chanted slogans and waved flags. Despite police attempts to control the situation, tensions rose with several arrests reported. The protest had no apparent link to ongoing campus demonstrations. Some participants held cardboard signs with messages like "No Met Gala while bombs drop in Gaza" and "No celebration without liberation." The Met Gala is an annual event that draws celebrities, fashion designers, and significant media coverage. It serves as a massive fundraiser for the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. In New York City's Upper East Side, a pro-Israel driver intentionally rammed into Free Palestine demonstrators, hospitalizing one protester. The incident occurred during ongoing protests against Israel's war on Gaza and calls for Columbia University's divestment from companies linked to Israel. Witnesses say the driver initially engaged with protesters before circling back to hit them. While police described the event as an argument escalating, the Columbia University apartheid divest group called it an attack. The assault coincided with criticism from U.S. politicians, including President Joe Biden, who have equated demonstrators for a free Palestine with anti-Semitism. In another instance, a protester was punched near the apartment of a Columbia board co-chair. Similar violent clashes recently occurred in Los Angeles, where police reportedly allowed pro-Israel groups to attack peaceful demonstrators. Amid escalating tensions, Biden's remarks during the Holocaust Memorial Museum's Days of Remembrance earlier this week stirred controversy for conflating Palestinian advocacy with anti-Semitism. Senator Sanders introduces resolution condemning campus bigotry. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Senator Bernie Sanders has introduced a resolution condemning anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all forms of bigotry on college campuses. It responds to a previous resolution that a number of observers say fell short in protecting students' rights. Sanders' resolution seeks to address broader issues of bigotry and violence on campuses, acknowledging the need for inclusive solutions to safeguard students' rights and promote justice. He emphasized the importance of safeguarding free speech amid persistent protests, particularly for those advocating for the Free-Palestine movement. Sanders criticized the Israeli government's actions in Gaza, citing disproportionate casualties, and highlighted the destruction of Gaza's universities. He said there are no protests on the college campuses in Gaza because every one of the 12 universities there has been bombed and destroyed by Israel. Sanders also stressed growing public dissatisfaction with U.S. policy regarding Israel and called for an end to American complicity in the crisis. President Joe Biden's recent visit to Chicago on Wednesday was marked by chants of Free Palestine and Genocide Joe. Biden raised $2 million at a re-election fundraiser in the city. Protesters disrupted traffic in downtown, shutting down streets near his speech venue. They criticized Biden's pro-Israel stance via bullhorn. However, Biden made no mention of Palestine during the event. The president's Chicago stop precedes his expected renomination at the Democratic National Convention in August. Over the past 24 hours, Israeli attacks have killed 60 Palestinians in Gaza. UN sources indicate that 109 Palestinians have been killed and 296 injured by Israeli attacks since Monday, including many women and children in Rafah. Israeli airstrikes near a mosque in Gaza City killed 13 civilians, while further attacks in Nusayrat and Rafah resulted in more casualties. According to UN officials, Israel's closure of the Rafah border is hindering access to vital aid and worsening the humanitarian crisis. Around 80,000 people fled Rafah as Israeli forces intensified their attacks on civilian areas. Despite international condemnation, Israeli military operations continue, with airstrikes concentrated in the center and east of Rafah. According to Palestinian news agency Wafa, Israeli ground forces are attacking residential buildings in the Zaytun neighborhood of Gaza City, injuring dozens of people. So far, Israeli airstrikes have hit 25 targets in Zaytun, including observation and sniper posts, according to the Israeli military. Tens of thousands of displaced and exhausted Palestinians are packing up their belongings and fleeing Rafah, fearing for their lives. Meanwhile, CIA Chief William Burns has reportedly returned to Cairo after holding talks in Israel with Mossad Chief David Barnea and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Since October, at least 34,904 Palestinians have been killed and 78,514 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. The death toll in Israel as a result of the October 7th Hamas attacks stands at 1,139, with dozens of people still being held captive. The Groundwork Collaborative is urging Congress to address allegations of price fixing in the fossil fuel industry by taxing windfall profits and refunding Americans. The Washington, D.C.-based progressive advocacy group's call comes amid a Senate Budget Committee hearing on fossil fuel companies' deceptive practices regarding climate change. Ground Collaborative Executive Director Lindsay Owens is demanding federal prosecution of Scott Sheffield, former CEO of Pioneer Natural Resources Company, who was also on the board of ExxonMobil. Owens is proposing congressional action to address the issue. The Federal Trade Commission has declined to contest ExxonMobil's acquisition of Pioneer, but barred Sheffield from involvement. The FTC complaint accuses Sheffield of colluding with OPEC representatives. Despite Pioneer's denial, demands for Justice Department and congressional actions have surged. The U.S. has conducted its largest ever repatriation of Western citizens from ISIS prison camps in northeastern Syria. The group includes 11 Americans who have been in the camps, which still hold tens of thousands despite ISIS losing its territory 5 years ago. However, approximately 25 Americans remain in the camps. The repatriation operation involved U.S. agencies, Kuwait, and pro-U.S. Kurdish fighters. The repatriated individuals include Americans, Canadians, Dutch, and Finnish citizens. A recent Amnesty International report notes that approximately 29,000 children are being held in the two largest camps. It stresses that they represent the highest concentration of children arbitrarily deprived of their liberty anywhere in the world. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.